there, this is NAYUMI CEE, and for today's content, I'll go ahead and answer one of the most common question I get to see in the comment section every time I upload a video about TELCO account. And the question is it difficult to work in a TELCO account? So I'll go ahead and answer this question based off of my experience working as a call center agent in a telco account for over 2 years now. So I started last August 20 of 2020, and today is past September already of 2022. So that's over 2 years already. I'll go ahead and give you a disclaimer though that all of the information that I'll be sharing this video are purely based off of my own experience as well as my personal opinion about working in a telco account. So I would suggest for you to take the advice or this information I'll be giving with a grain of salt. And with that said, let's begin. Alright, so to answer the question, it would be both yes and no for me, and I'll go ahead and explain why. But before I explain that, allow me to say shout out to you if you are a newbie and you were assigned in a telco account. Congratulations, and I would say you're great. You also can comment down below and say hi, just so I know na telco account ka rin and same tayo. Alright, so now I'll go ahead and give you 5 reasons why, yes, it is indeed difficult to work in a telco account. So the first reason is if you're a newbie or even tenured and you're not yet familiar with tools being used. So this is actually one of the struggles that I've experienced when I was new in this account. So it really is difficult to use the tool that we're using because, for example, we actually have 2 computers, and inside the computers are multiple tools that we have to use. And one thing that most of me and my colleagues are having difficulties with are the codes that's in the tool that we're using. So even if, for example, you are an agent from billing, no, not from billing, from retail account, and then you switch to a telco account, it could be a little bit challenging for you to navigate the tools, because I believe, based on my experience when I worked as a retail agent before, the tool that we're using is pretty easy as compared to the tools that we are using here in telco account. So yes, expect yourself to have a little bit difficulty when it comes to navigation of tools, especially if it's a telco account. Okay, but make sure to stick until the end of this video, just so you know also what are the cons or the pros in working in a telco account. Now, the second reason is if you're not competitive enough to hit the monthly goals or metrics. So, based on my experience in this particular account, if, for example, you are failing your metrics within like the last 3 months, you will be enrolled to somewhat, let's say, critical coaching or things like that, wherein you need to improve your scores. Otherwise, if you still fail in the 4th month, for example, then you may end up losing your job, or you will end up being terminated from this job. But please take note that this is based on the account I am handling right now. This doesn't mean that it will apply to you. That's why I said on set of this particular conversation that you have to take this with a grain of salt. Now, if you're not competitive enough, most of the time this happens when you're a newbie. So if you're a newbie, the best tip that I can give you is to make sure that you know what's the goal or what is the metric that you need to pass in this specific fiscal. Like, for example, you have to pass your average handling time, so you have to manage your call very well. For example, you need to pass your surveys, so you need to generate more promoters. By the way, I have videos regarding that, just so you will be guided. I can put the link of those in the description box down below. But yeah, that's what this is what's making a telco account difficult. Yeah, I believe that's just my personal advice or thoughts though. Number three reason is if you're not following what's expected for you to do. So this is mainly in reference to the processes that the company is giving us. For example, again, you're working in a telco account and you're required to follow the rules set aside by that particular account. For example, you were in a billing department and that you are required to not reactivate or reinstate the customer's account if he or she has a past due balance or he still didn't pay his last month's bill, but you reinstated the service, meaning for example the account is in soft disconnect, meaning all of her services is not working because of non-payment. So what you did is you reinstated or you restored the services, meaning the internet, the cable, or the telephone services started working because you restarted the service, even if there's no payment made on the account yet. So that's a no-no. You will be escalated if the management gets to know that you are doing such kind of behavior. So yes, if you're not doing what's expected for you to do, then you may end up getting your job lost, because it's either you will be terminated or you will be given what do you call this, a notice to explain that is going to progress to like critical coaching until written warnings and finally termination. Okay, so make sure to follow what's expected for you to do. Okay, number four is if you're not good at balancing the toxicity that comes from handling irate customers. So this is again for those newbies, because me, when I started working in this particular account, it really is kind of difficult to manage stress and pressure, because you're like stressed because you don't know how to navigate the tools, and at the same time you're pressured because you have to pass all these metrics, and at the same time you want to avoid yourself from committing any mistakes because you may end up losing your job if you do so. So you need to have a balanced mindset when it comes to working in this particular account. Now, number five and the last reason why it can be toxic is if the management itself is toxic. For example, if your boss is inconsiderate, is always yelling at you every time you make mistakes, not motivating you to grow, not commending you each time you did a great job and things like that. So as an employee, we always want to be praised, to be acknowledged, to be heard of, and if we're not given that kind of commendation or compliment, then we may end up losing our what do you call this, our vibe or our excitement in getting to work every single day. But of course, as I've mentioned, I'll not just go ahead and speak with the reasons why it is difficult to work in a telco account. I should be saying, also telling you what are the 5 reasons why no, it is not really difficult to work in a telco account. So these are mainly like opposites or contrary of those that I've mentioned previously, but I'll go ahead and start with number one. So tool navigation gets easier as time passes by. You really just have to learn as you go. Don't give up way too early. So this is actually a common mistake that most newbies do. They end up resigning or quitting the job because they feel like, whoa, it's really difficult. I couldn't make it. But I would say give it at least 3 months, because I think by that time you're already used to the process. Plus, there are also people, especially your team lead, who will guide you along the way. For example, if you really don't know how to process an order and things like that, you can seek help and they will help you do it. Okay, so just don't give up, and again, it gets easier as you go. And then number two reason is if you're a competitive type of person and you get to know what are the goals and target just so you can keep up with your scores. So this is actually earlier when you are incompetent because you're newbie, you're not yet used to the process, you don't know what are the tips and techniques or the tricks and techniques in getting those kinds of course. But of course the moment you get to know, this is the goal for this month, I'm gonna go ahead and hit this one by one. So long as you were able to hit the target, then you're good to go, and it really isn't that difficult. You have to do it step by step though. If you want to teach me how to do it, you can comment down below. And then number three is no one's perfect. If you made a mistake once, don't do it twice to avoid multiple escalations. So yes, this is to avoid losing your job because of making multiple mistakes, such as misleading customers or not following what is needed for you to do. So telco account is not really difficult if you will follow what is asked for you to do. So just be a good follower. Number four is learn to find the customer's kilite or buy in by providing excellent customer experience. So yes, there are a lot of difficult customers that you will be dealing with on a day-to-day basis. There are customers that are easy to deal with, but you can probably experience those rarely. Or if you can, of course, you have to find the customers buy in. Make sure to build rapport on set of the call, just so once you get to know their buy-in, once you get to build rapport, once you get to engage to the customer, then it will be a whole lot easier for you to resolve the problem. And normally if you can do it, they will also follow whatever it is that you want them to do. And at the same time, if you want them to just stay with you on the line, even if it's taking too long for you to do, so long as you're willing to help them and they can sense that from your urgency and the way you assure them, then you're good to go. Okay, then number five is there may be toxic management, but so long as you know how to do your job properly and you're doing what is expected for you to do, then you're good. Now, in this particular company I'm working with, I'm not saying that they're toxic because the management is quite good. Yeah, all of them are friendly, kind, helpful, accommodating, and all of those positive things I can possibly share. But of course, lahat naman yata merong pinagdadaan ng toxicity. There's like a point in time, or hindi naman perfecto kasi every single month you really have to, experience toxicity. But of course, you have to detox, detoxify, char. Okay, you need to balance it out. And if you want me to create a separate video on how to balance out working in this